What's good, everybody? What's good? Elijah, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm well, man. I'm well. It's a gloomy Monday. It's a gloomy Monday. It's a gloomy
It's a
Monday.
I actually have not looked outside yet, so it might be a gloomy Monday. But so happy to be back. Welcome to March. Welcome to Women's History Month. Out to all the ladies out there, we support you, we uplift you, and we are so amazed and honored by all the various things that you do. Shout out to all of our amazing mothers out there. Shout out to
Mhm.
all of our amazing wives out there. Shout out to all of our amazing single ladies out there. Okay, we simply uplift you. Okay,
Mhm.
you have an ally in us,
Yeah.
and we kind of want to go back to February just a little bit because February is Love Month. We didn't have an opportunity to really talk about love,
Love.
and romance, love, relationships. It's always a crazy topic, and um, I had the opportunity to be a moderator with my lovely wife Janelle last week on um, a relationship panel, right?
Mhm.
And I think I don't know about you, but have you ever seen this trend where people who were single and 1 year they come back to the single night or the dating night and they're still single, and they haven't necessarily made any progress.
Oof.
Have you ever experienced that, bro?
Like me personally?
Yeah, like at church you see people come to a program and they're single,
Oh, okay.
and then they come back the
Okay.
next year, they're still single,
Yeah,
and
I've
they
seen that.
probably come back a third year and they still come with the same people, maybe the same girls, same guys,
Yeah.
friends, right? And you know, they chime in and be like,
I
yes.
asked I asked me because that's not me. Like
I wasn't talking about
like
you. I wasn't talking about you.
like
I was just
in between, right? From one year to the other.
hold my hand, hold my hand, hold my hand, hold
I
my hand.
was like, I was like, I don't know if it's me, but yeah, dude, I know of individuals and I've seen individuals. Yeah.
Dude, and I think that to a certain extent, individuals can get kind of addicted to being in like those spaces, right? They could be can get addicted to being in those spaces, and so here's what I want to do today. I really want to like just talk about dating, talk about relationships, and hopefully individuals out there can kind of sort of benefit from what we're going to talk about today, especially from men. From a man's perspective, because the truth is that dating can be difficult. Um, it's not that it can be difficult. It is difficult. It is difficult.
Mhm.
Let's just put it out there. It is
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
And so want to make sure that we can kind of sort of share things that are valuable with individuals, give people some things to think about. Um, because one of the things that actually happened in this conversation, we asked our single folks who were on the panel. We said, "Hey, why do you think individuals are still single? Why do you think people are still single?" And I specifically asked one of the guys this, who was single, and he was just like, to a certain extent, he thinks that individuals needs to lower their standards. He said that individuals need to lower their standards. And so when I said that, it sent my head going in one direction. But before I share my response to what I was thinking in what I was thinking when he said that, I want to hear from you. When you hear a person, especially a man, say individuals need to just lower their expectations, that perfect is not out there.
Mhm.
What's the first thing that comes to mind, bro?
Man, what's crazy is that we were talking about this too, right? About this being a potential podcast episode this year.
Yeah.
And this morning, I was listening to a video of, from from a psychologist saying and explaining how to have a successful relationship. And he brought up the fact that you just brought up is that people will put themselves in a cycle, right? Of either going on a dating app, right, and meeting someone, and then
Yeah.
within 5 weeks, they find something wrong with them, and then they go back on the app, and then it's kind of like this
Hmm.
cycle, right? So uh, they might not be single in the idea of like a long period, but they're cycling through people, and they're eventually single at the end of the cycle. So it's like a a cycle of saying, "Hey, they're not meeting my expectations," right?
Yeah.
And and he was sharing, he wasn't using the term lower your expectation. His thing was, "Hey, if someone meets you 50% of the way, right? That should be enough to be in a committed relationship because you then can work with that person to figure
Yeah.
out the right?" And he was sharing how most of us are so infatuated with ourselves that it's always the other person that has the problem.
Ooh, we're
You
so infatuated with our. I've never heard that. We're so infatuated with that. What did he mean by that when he said that?
like, if a relationship ends, it was never my fault,
Oh.
right? Like, the relationship ended because the other person was at fault, and there
Yeah.
was something that they need to go through or they need to fix,
Yeah.
and 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 I was in the right.
Yeah.
So when I enter into my next relationship, it's because I made the choice and I'm good, and it's the other person that needs to change or adapt and grow, right? So he was saying, no, like in order to break this cycle of dating and then single dating, and by dating I mean like 2 to 3 months or in the talking phase, right? And he was like, if you want to break that cycle, you have to lower right your expectations of yourself,
Yeah.
right? and and say, hey, I have some things that I need to work out. And if the other person admits, you were saying like one of the questions that you have to ask yourself, or ask the other person on the date, right? On the first date, it's like, hey, what is crazy about you, right? And and if the person shares, like when I see the color red, I just lose it, right? Or like, I like love cleaning too much that it might be a problem, right? He was like, those are good signs because the person has spent time thinking
Thank
about
Yeah.
right about who they are.
Yeah.
And if the person goes, nothing is bad about me, right? Like, you know what? I don't know.
Red flag.
It's a he said run. He said run.
Wave it. This
Like
is me waving the red flag.
he was like, run, run. So when you say lower your expectations, like my mind kind of goes um in hey, you're not as perfect as you think you are. So because you're not perfect, you can drop down that bar, right? And go, hey, like if that person does not have to be a 10 out of 10 across all the areas, right?
Yeah.
For me to think about being in a long-term relationship with them. Now, here is what I don't think you're saying,
Okay.
and you can confirm this, right?
Okay.
Is I don't think you're saying lower your expectations in how much you'll be attracted to that person, right?
Mhm.
Not just physically, but spiritually and mentally and emotionally, right? Like I don't think you're saying, hey, lower it down where it'll put you at a risk of of not being attracted to
Mhm.
that person, right? I think what we both mean by lowering your expectations is um as men, right? I can speak for myself, right? I had this idea in high school of meeting someone that would not only be the mother to my children, right? But someone that would take care of the home, someone that would be excellent at their job, will be pushing boundaries, right? And will be doing some amazing things, right? So I had like this like crazy idea, right, of someone in my life that would be a partner in excellence.
Yeah.
And then the more I entered into the dating scene, right, the more I was like, wow, well, I'm too ahead of that person. I can't think about that person
Yes.
because I'm more ahead in my life than they are, and I don't feel like waiting to catch up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
So here it is. So I want to say this. Because what you actually said actually kind of sort of just expanded um
okay, okay.
what what I was thinking he was saying. Because and I'll be honest, when he originally said this, I got concerned, right? Because typically I hear situations where guys are not meeting the expectations of the women that they're with,
No, yeah.
right? It's rare that I hear a guy say that a woman that he's with is not meeting the expectations of the relationship. If that is happening, it's typically more so about physical attraction, but it's not necessarily about is she a good person, you know, does she
Yeah.
have a good job, especially with like all of the a lot of the manosphere stuff that's out there where it's like, I don't need her to work anyway, I could pay for all the bills and things like that, that's not what I'm used to. I'm used to seeing a woman work personally,
Mhm.
but there are a lot of individuals out there whose expectations for their female counterpart is lower. Okay, and
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like in a number of situations, and I don't know if you've ever heard this, but even like especially in college when dating was really starting to become more important and prevalent. What you'll typically see is that in most relationships, guys are often more satisfied than women are. And
Really?
it's crazy. Like, yeah, like there are more women who are often more disgruntled in a relationship or in a marriage than a guy is.
I know in
Um,
a marriage,
so
for sure.
all right, but so when he said that, um, I unfortunately was thinking that he was saying maybe ladies, you need to, you know, like chill a little bit, right?
Yeah.
That's what and then I felt bad after I really processed through it because I was like, nah, I think as men, we also do that. We also,
Mhm.
like, to a certain extent, we don't go forward with a woman at times because, you know, um, she's not meeting a certain standard. And here's what I mean by that. Okay. Um, we all recognize that as believers, let's say a standard versus a preference. Okay, standard is you are pursuing Christ. All right, core value is you are pursuing love. You want to become holier and holier each and every single day. All right, I think that's so when I say standards, I really mean like what's your moral compass look like. What are your core values? Okay,
Mhm.
like I don't want you to be a person who's racist, who's xenophobic or anything like that. All right, not
Yeah.
no sexist, no chauvinism, none of that. Right. So I think that we're clear. Those are non-negotiables,
Thank you, yeah.
but
Yeah.
there are preferences. Okay, how often are we talking throughout the day? That's a preference.
Mhm.
Okay, not the fact that you're not communicating at all. Okay, that's not preference. That's non-negotiable. But
Mhm.
how often are we communicating? What's the vehicle by which we're communicating? Are we phone
True.
callers, FaceTimers? Are we,
Textures.
texters? And even in texting, are we like the audio texters because we don't
Mm.
like the clickety clack 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 clack? So that, right? So that's preference, right? um how much physical affection do we have? Is it a lot? Is it a little bit? That's preference, right? um and what I realize is that for guys, we actually do have expectations at times which cause us to not get into a relationship faster. There are a lot of guys out there who actually kind of sort of stay in that situationship phase, that
Yeah.
talking phase.
Yeah.
And I now that I'm older and now that I've had an opportunity to talk to a whole bunch of guys more about it, I realize that the reason is because many times where women are seeing guys are not meeting certain markers, right? Because Josh Johnson, comedian, right? He talked about, three particular markers, right? Where he said that one marker is the guy that you're interested in a good person? That's the first marker. The second one is this is the guy that you're interested in financially stable? Okay. And then the third one, he's not Christian. He's not Christian. And I'm not condoning this, y'all. Okay. But he said, is he good in bed? Is he good in bed?
Ooh,
Oh, so his three
classy.
were good person, got money, good in bed. Now, what he said, ladies, the man will not have all three. He will not have all three. So typically, you got to pick. He
You
said,
gotta pick.
he said you typically got to pick, two of the three, right? And so there was that. So I just wanted to make that joke because when he said it, I was like, dang, that's true.
That's funny.
Like a lot of times, there's this stereotype, especially with like the black community, where like apparently, a guy can be a deadbeat, right? Not will be relying on his significant other,
Mhm.
and you'll be like, why is she still with him? And when you talk to her, she'll be like, listen, like, even though he don't work, he just does something for me,
That's
you know.
crazy.
It- like, yeah, it's actually really bad. This is why you need to wait until marriage to have sex. But like the reality is this. The reality is this. Um, Women have preferences, men have preferences, right? Typically, for women, the preferences is, I want a tall man. If he couldn't be making six figures, I want him to make six figures. If he could have a nice car, let's go there as well. If we
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
out on dates, and if he can be the person who's paying for the dates, that's good. Those are preferences, right? But I realize that a lot of men also have preferences as well. Uh,
100%.
and here's the preferences, and let me know if you agree or disagree to this. I realize that a lot of like guy friends that I know, they stay single because they're questioning, can I do better?
Mm.
That's bad. It sounds bad, but they're
Yeah.
questioning, can I, like, I know I got her, but what if I could get her?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she cute, but I'm pretty sure that my boys and the other people who will see us will be thinking, "Oh, he got her on his arm?
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta respect." I don't know how he pulled that, but and so there are a number of guys who don't fully commit because they haven't let go
Mhm.
of, I could be doing better,
Mhm.
or I could get a better prize. And so they kind of sort of see women as status indicators or
Accessory.
status
Yeah.
markers to make them look better in society.
They do. Yeah. Yeah.
And so we both got preferences,
Mhm.
right? But our preferences kind of sort of feed us in a different way. And so when he said that, I realized, especially after talking afterwards, I realized, oh, he's saying this because as men, we also need to quote unquote lower our expectations, or
Yeah.
not even lower our expectations. We need to expand what we think is good. Um, because a lot of times, what is good to us is what we think is good to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Stop there. So I
Yeah.
just said a lot. I just said a lot. What do you think about that?
No, man, I think you're right because even when we look at the biblical writers, right?
Mhm.
When they're talking about Leah and Rachel, right? Like
Yeah.
they share that Sarah
Everyone knew
was
that. Everyone knew that Rachel was bad. Everybody knew
right.
it.
It's just like everyone knew Sarah, right, was beautiful, like so beautiful that Abraham had to lie about, their marriage status so
Yeah.
that he wouldn't get killed, right? And everyone wanted to have her. And then when it came to Leah, they gave like this
Heavy.
uh
She was an
this
acquired taste.
this like description that was like, oh wow. And it was so bad that our boy worked another 7 years
Yes.
for Rachel instead of being happy with that. Like that goes to show you the extent, right, of how men specifically, right,
Yeah.
will the extent that they'll go to get the person that they want, right? And the fact, bro, is you're right. Too many of us are staying single because of preferences,
Yeah.
and that's a choice that the individual can make. But here is the consequences, right? Here's the consequences that I see from a lot of the men that I interact with that are single that come to church, right? They'll walk into church and they'll go, man, there's really no options here. Uh,
Crazy.
and and
Crazy.
then they'll go to a different church, right? And then it takes literally everything within me not to check them, right? And say, well, first of all, this is not the reason for church, right?
Yes.
And that if this is the reason for church, right, you're not ready for a church goal, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a like you are someone that is acting like a predator right now, right? And you need to like chill and take a step back.
Yeah.
Um, and then it goes into, I thought that she was great, but then I, thought exactly like you said, I could do better. And I would say that I've never had that like thought. Um, what has always popped up into my mind, though, from individuals around me, and even from me personally, has been when I think through some of the the yeah, man. Um, I will say this to kind of end the thought is if you're waiting for someone better, stop complaining about the current situation.
Yeah. Here's what I think is so kind of sort of like difficult. Like we don't know how much when we date or when we're looking for certain partners, we're looking for like the approval of other people
Mhm.
until we really take time to really reflect. Like even in like my relationship with Janelle, there were certain things that we were like, hey, so let's say for your birthday, what is it that you want to do? And like initially she would say, oh man, I want to do like this big thing, like I want it to look like this and that. And I'd be like, is that what you really want to do? Because that's not who you are as like a person. And it kind of got to the
Mm,
point where we were like, is this what you want to do, or is this what you feel like you have to do,
yeah.
so that other people can possibly see, you good, you know? And so like what we kind of sort of began to really notice is that at times, she was doing it more so for what will other people think, even when it came to like let's say wedding planning. And I'm not saying that this was her. There were certain parts that I was like, oh man, let me not do this because I'm trying to impress other people. Let me
Mhm.
do this because this is what I really want to do for me.
Yeah.
uh, and I'll say this, I still failed, okay. There are certain parts of the wedding where I still like gave in to, I want people to be impressed,
Mhm.
right? Like we want to prove something to a certain extent. Um, and that's the problem with like romance today. That's a problem with, let's say, even like Valentine's Day. Like it's not necessarily pouring out of a cup that's full. It's
Mhm.
pouring out of a cup, hoping that you will be poured back into, not knowing that you'll be poured back into.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's what's so dangerous about how we go about love and how we go about romance, especially when men are younger. A lot of times we're really trying to just prove that we deserve to be at a particular table. And
Mm,
I think when like, and this starts in elementary school, like the guy who has the quote unquote best looking girl gets treated the best. Like this is what we're taught. And so, a lot of times our pastors often, when they're using illustrations to talk about sex and stuff, they refer to women as cars and test driving and stuff like that, because a lot of times men do objectify women. They
mhm.
do. They do. And it's because we're taught to do it. We're taught to do it. But it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's right. And so I think that we're now living in an interesting time where, one, it seems like conservatism is coming back in, it's becoming popular again, and so traditional values is becoming popular again, and you see it with like the trad wife movement on social media, and you see it also in various relationship content that gets publicized on various social media outlets. But what are your thoughts, bro, when it comes to all of this? Because I truly do think that it is an interesting thing.
what 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 I'd say to like kind of wrap to start to wrap this up is the Bible when it's talking about us getting into relationship, right?
Mhm.
We always go back to the way that we have been treated by God, right? And it continuously shows us that when we enter into relationships based on preferences and unrealistic expectations, um, we we have the examples of like a David and Bathsheba, right? We have the examples of of men continuously going after women that are physically right, where their preferences are, but spiritually not where they need to be.
Mm.
And when we think about that as a standard to go off of, for me, we're talking about lowering expectations because the expectations are based off the worldly standards, right? But when you look at it from a biblical perspective, it's not really lowering your expectations, right? It's reprioritizing. Um, it's
That's it. That's it.
yeah, like it's a hey, I know that in the world you value um um looks and you value financial growth and stability over everything else, right?
Yeah.
But from a spiritual standard, it's hey, we while those things are valuable, they're not what gives you value, right? What gives you value is your connection with God and the standard that you want to continue to grow in Him with from a spiritual standard, right? And and when you do it that way, it's not saying, "Hey, pastor, it's not us saying, "Hey, don't look at this, and this," right? It's like, "Hey, no, 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 look at those things," but instead of arranging it with the filter of the world, it's arrange it with the filter of the Bible and reprioritize what is up top and then what's at the bottom. And for me
Mm.
personally, man, like I can share mine. Like when I was on my dates with Leah, I shared with her, I was like, hey, what I'm really looking for, because it was trial and error, right? Like what I said, what I'm really honestly I'm looking for is someone that has a connection with God that I don't have to maintain.
Mhm.
Like, I was like, as a pastor, I don't wanna come home and have more Bible studies with you.
Yeah.
Um, like, I don't wanna come home and have to explain why we go to church every Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, I don't wanna be one of those couples in ministry where I have to argue with you to come to church with me on Saturday. I was like,
Mm.
like like I said, I've heard those stories from pastors, and they usually end up in divorce, right?
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, for me, I was like, spirituality is everything to me. And for me, a extension of my spirituality is being at church on Saturday.
Yeah.
And then highlighting spiritual growth aspects throughout the week, right? I was like, that is number one. And that ended a lot of my relationships.
Mm.
People people that I matched up with on Hinge, right? We had everything, right? Great on paper, right?
Yeah.
And then when I talked about the spirituality aspect of everything, it ended it
Yeah.
because they realized that I was being so transparent and honest that they were saying, "Hey, I don't think this is going to work out for you
You're a pastor.
because
I don't work out for you because you're a pastor.
what." And the wildest thing is like I'm not the one that ended it, right?
Yeah.
Like they're the ones that saw it and they're because they thought that at one point I would be flexible with it. I was like, I'm not being flexible with it. And then I thought that they could grow into it, right? Because I was being open, right?
Oof.
and they checked me and they're like, this is not a priority for me, and I
Yeah.
think that'll be that won't work out for you, so I don't think this will continue, right? And I was
That's
really like, that was like, I was like, whoa, like I love this, right?
yeah.
People without a spiritual discernment able to react to things, right? So for me, man, when I reprioritize those things and I put spirituality up top, and then I still, have a preference of, of how, I would like my girl to look like. And then also realizing that she needs to be attracted to me as well. So that means
Yeah.
I go get my hair cut, right? I eat properly, right? And when I thought about those things, right, it made me hold back some stuff where, like, I think I told Leah the other day, I was like, "Hey babe, I'm sorry, I'm so out of shape." Right? Like I was like, "I'm gonna try better because I still want you to
The
like me."
honesty, the honesty. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's
Yeah, man.
necessary.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I'm happy that you said that, because, I think, for a lot of people need to realize, hey, singleness really, it starts with you, and the opportunity for something more, it starts with you.
Mhm.
I'll say this, I'm progressive when it comes to romance. I'm not your traditional guy. And it comes from the fact that I grew up in a home where my mom was here and our father left. Okay, so like when I look for a partner, I look for a strong woman. That's why I really took notice in Janelle, because Janelle is possibly one of the strongest women, strongest human beings, most impressive human beings that I know. Okay, and she's also progressive. So like when it comes to like gender roles, just giving you like a peek into like our relationship, like it doesn't really, we don't do the whole gender role thing.
Mhm.
It doesn't really have a space in our relationship. It doesn't. But
Yeah.
what I can say is character, you know. And I think that a lot of times, even on like Friday, um, some of the things that we were talking about when it came to why individuals were struggling in relationships, I was like, man, a heavy dose of like Christian standards or Christian foundation could really like satisfy a lot of this, because there's a lot of wisdom in scripture that helps us to create proper foundations and standards for ourselves, so that we don't end up with individuals who are really beneath us,
Mm.
in many ways. And when I say beneath, I mean, you know, you shouldn't be in a relationship with a person where you're questioning if they care about you enough,
Wow.
uh, if they want to talk to you enough, if they think that you're physically attractive enough. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be in a relationship if with a person and you're questioning if they respect me, right? And I think that as believers, as Christians, the Bible really is filled with examples of what it looks like when individuals do care about you,
Mhm.
when people value you, and when they respect you. It's filled with it. And so that's why I say like it has to be foundational. But I appreciated what you really said at the end, because a lot of times what I'm realizing is that individuals want a particular thing that they are not. Um, a lot of times we want the fittest person or
Mhm.
the curviest person, and our body is not quote unquote T, right? Body
Right.
is T,
Right.
like we want that. And here's what I gotta say. We gotta be people who live what we want. Okay. One of the things that really made sense to me is like realizing that, hey, at times short people don't have the same advantages and don't have the same leeway that tall people have, right?
Absolutely.
Like girls do not have the same tolerance for a short king that she got for a tall Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you can't be short and you don't dress well.
Mhm.
Like you could be tall, but you don't dress well, cause like being tall is what's in. That's what
Mhm.
people want,
Yeah.
right? You can't be big, fat, and you don't got good hygiene.
Mhm.
Okay? Like you gotta make sure that if you big,
Your
like you
beard has to be good.
like your lineups are always amazing. Like your nail care, like there's no dirt underneath your
Yeah.
fingernails.
Yeah.
Like I make sure the things are trimmed all the time
Yeah, yeah.
because the runway for you is much shorter than it is for other people.
Yep.
Much shorter. It's much shorter. And so it's imperative that individuals understand that, hey, we live in a world that kind of sort of lifts up certain qualities and it pushes down certain qualities. So there
Mhm.
has to be a certain level of awareness after we understand the foundational, after we understand the good character, right? We got to see, all right, so when we get into the preference area, right? What are certain preferences that I have, or that what are certain characteristics that are real about me that are not popular, right?
Mm.
So if I'm talking about me, like just me, I understand that right now, I am not tall. I'm not tall, right? I am probably average height, and some people will still say that I'm short.
Mhm.
Okay,
Same
um,
here.
I'm also overweight, and I've been
Mhm.
overweight most of my life. And we live in a culture, in a world that demonizes being fat. Okay, and so what that has to do for me is that has to make me realize the runway that I got. So I realize that I'm short. I recognize that I'm also thicker. I'm not as thick as some people out here, but I'm still thicker than a Snicker. And in addition to that, I'm also dark skinned. I'm also dark skinned, and that matters to some people. Some
Yeah.
people really know how to date a dark skinned guy, and so these things really do matter. But what's beautiful about these things is that it also causes you to say, what are some of my quote unquote preferences? Do I think that the person I'm interested in, does she have to have um a model ready body? Does
Mhm.
she have to have perfect teeth? Does she have to have long flowing hair? Or could I somehow, some way establish an appreciation for women who have short hair? Can I establish appreciation for women who are skinnier? They may not have the best body, but at least they got a body, yada yada.
Mhm.
And so it's like what are some of the things that I've been like hard on, that are preferences that can become a little bit softer,
Mhm.
because 9 times out of 10 things are going to change 10, 15 years from now, you know
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
A- and so it's about not just, I don't even want to say it's about certainly lowering your expectations. It's about expanding what you appreciate and what you find value in, because sometimes we only find value in the things that we were taught to find value in.
Mhm.
I remember, I know that in certain areas, dark skin, especially for women, is not what's in. But you go online and you see some very beautiful dark skinned women.
Mhm.
Tall women are probably not what's in. But there are some tall women who you can indeed climb. Like God bless them. I'm stupid. But all that is to say,
Yeah.
you know, take a step back from some of the hard things that you planted in, and expand what
Yeah.
you appreciate, because you never know, the person who you've been avoiding could be the person who, like, 5-10 years from now, you're like, dang, because I had this hard rule on what attractive meant, or attraction meant. I did not give myself the ability to truly see that you are beautiful, that
Yeah.
not just you, but these various things about you are beautiful. And so, I think that that's kind of sort of like an excellent place for us to end, unless you got anything else that you'd like to add to this conversation before we hop off.
No, man. I just praise God that Janelle gave you multiple opportunities, man, and
Yes.
overlooked,
Yes.
overlooked.
Yeah.
And we praise God for grace, and if we could just have more grace to individuals, I think a lot of us will be more fulfilled in our dating journey and relationship, man.
Agreed. Agreed. And so listen, we gotta hop off because Elijah's camera is going crazy. But remember, y'all, please like, share, subscribe. If you made it to this point, like, share, subscribe. We are trying to, as much as possible, grow this community. Please leave a comment. We want to hear from you what you think about what we said. If you agree, praise the Lord. If you do not agree, enlighten us. Share something new with us. But please make sure that you are tuning in. As we stated in a previous episode, there are some changes. There are some changes coming up. We are going to be introducing a new name soon and very soon. So you want to make sure that you are up for that. Chapter 1 is coming to an end. Volume 1 is coming to an end,
Right.
but we're going to be starting Volume 2, Season 2, very, very, very soon. So I'm Juwan Sanders, and on behalf of Elijah Stanley, we are signing off, and we will see you next time. Peace out, y'all.